This one's from the Daily Mail. New Jersey parents outraged at plan for first graders to be given sex education lessons dubbed pink, blue, and purple on gender identity. Second graders will learn you can't have boy parts but feel like a girl. New sex education guidelines were handed out to New Jersey parents at a meeting in February. A 30-minute lesson called Pink, Blue, and Purple teaches the students to define gender, gender identity, gender roles, stereotypes. The curriculum also includes instructions for teachers to tell students that their gender identity is up to them. Part of the lesson plan states you might feel like you're a boy even if you have body parts that some people might tell you are girl parts. The material were reportedly distributed to parents at a February 22 meeting of the Westville Board of Education. Former Governor Chris Christie and other Republican officials slammed New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy for New Jersey school planning to teach gender identity to children. The new state sex education guidelines go in effect in September. In the past, I think I shared with you guys that Governor Murphy has signed this LGBTQ, and people have been raising the alarm, and this is kind of a branch of what is part of this whole LGBTQ mission. So, fellas, we have the first glimpse of this. What do we think? Kelvin, go first. Before the wrath of Schubert and Smith.
Yeah, so this is saying that they're teaching sex ed in class, right? More or less. What age is this?
First graders will be given sex education lessons on gender identity. Second graders will learn about body parts and what makes them their gender identity and gender role stereotypes.
I think that's too soon. I think if anything, it should be middle school. Because, that kind of goes with the argument, like, is somebody born, are they born gay? Is it something that happens throughout time, with experiences? But nonetheless, if we're not going to talk about, like, sexual reproduction with babies or with kids this young, then I don't think they should be talking about gender identity. Let the kids just be little kids. And once they get to middle school, sixth grade and up, then y'all can start introducing those types of conversations.
My wife said the exact same thing. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, that's way too early, and that shit is corny as hell that they're trying to push this on to students. You know what I mean? You're trying to force people into being gay, or to switching up their roles, or to question their gender. At the end of the day, you're going to have pink, blue, and purple that teach them about gender identity, and gender role. What the fuck are we really doing? You know what I mean? Teach them some math and some fucking writing and some reading. And it's funny because this is starting in September, and my son is actually going into second grade, so I'm gonna monitor the fuck out of this bullshit. My son got boy parts, and he know they boy parts for a boy. Don't go in there telling him that, he could still be a girl because he got boy parts. The fuck is you talking about? Like, why are you doing that to our children?
Number one, I don't know when school went from being a place of academia to a place of, sexual identification. Like last I checked, I don't remember any conversation of, Schubert, I know that you're in second grade now. Do you know that you're a boy and that, you're supposed to like trucks and you're supposed to play with GI? That conversation was never had ever in the past, so why are we even starting that conversation now as if it's an issue is beyond me, especially to young minds that are very impressionable and don't have the capacity to really distinguish this shit. It's like saying, let's take a classroom full of kids that don't fucking understand illness and disease and start telling them all the symptoms of all types of diseases that they are completely unfamiliar and let them self-diagnose. Does that fucking make any goddamn sense? Like, why would you take kids at such a young age who have no fucking concept of these things, are not even thinking about that? At this point, they're just like, I want to play with my toys, play my video games, watch TV. I don't even want to be in school.
Ain't that the truth? I don't even want to be in school.
And you're introducing
like, I would even say middle school is the level for this shit. I'd say high school is the level. This is when these kids are really trying to identify themselves. This is when they fucking. This is when they're doing drugs. This is the time when they need the most direction.
Yeah,
I disagree with that one too. I disagree, bro. I think once they get to like 7th, 8th grade,
I'm just telling you my viewpoint, bro. I'm just saying my viewpoint. I'll let you express yours. You know, I'm just saying the fact that I think that most of these kids, you know, most, not all, not every case, not every school, not every district, not every situation, but most of these kids start fucking and doing drugs and everything else around high school age when they're a little bit more mature and they're really, you know, hot and they have that freedom to move around a little bit more than when they were in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade. You know, it could start earlier. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, we all agree 1st grade, 2nd grade is too goddamn early for this bullshit.
Yeah,
honestly, the schools aren't the place for it.
No, if you want to teach the 1st and 2nd grade something, and we have a big opioid pandemic, start teaching them about drugs early. Teach them that shit. Don't teach them this bullshit, though. You know what I mean? Opioids is
like, show me the SAT score for gender.
Teach them that, but teaching them this is not. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? You're forcing something on people. You're forcing early discussions with parents that don't feel comfortable. Forcing that on people. That's not fair. You know what I mean?
Real quick before I share my opinion, and Smith, you just tapped on that. What's going to be my thoughts? Henry, real quick, you said something about your disagreement regarding the appropriate age. I'm just curious. I really don't have a strong opinion when my wife kind of shared the same sentiments in regards to the grade level. I just want to hear your explanation why you think middle school.
I mean, I look at some 7th and 8th graders specifically in my school, and I mean, I even think back to my other school. You know, a lot of them already look like they identify more so as lesbians than gay dudes. As far as, you know, you can look and tell that they have, you know, blatant girlfriends. They walk around holding hands. They looking real butch. So I mean, at that point, they're starting to understand, you know, I guess the differences. So being able to have that conversation and allow them to, you know, I guess express what they feel like it is that they're going through, I feel like it does start at a younger age.
I got a question for you before Bradley goes to Henry. Was that your experience when you started teaching, or have you seen that?
You know what, Smith? The only kid who I remember ever being gay before that was Rashard and Jonathan Maldonado. That's it.
Yeah,
I gotta blank these kids' name out and shit. God damn it.
Yeah. Those are the only two. Yeah. I mean, they grown now. They like almost in their 30 now. They're almost 30.
I say that because in the last few years, it's been pushed on these students. So that's why you're seeing it more. And now you're trying to open it up to 2nd graders. So now you'll have 2nd graders holding hands because you're pushing this shit onto kids.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When you started teaching, that wasn't the case. Yes, you always had some people who were outliers. We always had that. You know what I mean? If you think back to your high school career, you probably had some students in your high school, or even elementary school, that you was like, that looks a little, you know what I mean, suspicious. As far as, you know, how we're looking at it. But at the end of the day, you're forcing this on kids. Like, that's the bullshit.
And mind you, the whole thing is when my son was in the 2nd grade, some kids were spreading rumors that other kids were showing other kids their body parts, you know, their genitals. And my son overheard 2 kids talking. He's like, "Are you guys talking about sex?" For saying, "Are you talking about sex?" my son got in trouble with the principal and got detention in the 2nd fucking grade. But now overnight, you are willing to just say, you know what? It's all okay. Really? We can't even go through transitions.
Retard alert.
Just like one day we're talking about cookies and crayons. One day it's cookies and crayons. Next day is LGBTQ. Really?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Murphy.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Damn, son.
Yo, yeah, to be honest, I share the same sentiments with every one of you guys. And to be honest, the only thing I really was going to bring up is what you brought up, Smith, which was very profound in regards of forcing parents now to have discussions that they weren't necessarily ready to have. And it made me think of was the situation that's
And
out
that they may not understand themselves.
or they might not understand themselves or just not willing to have, period, based off whatever religion they might follow and stuff. And the situation made me think of what's transpiring right now in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis, he's passed what they call the very controversial parents' right bill. You guys might not have heard of it, called the Don't Say Gay bill. It's not. People are calling it that, but that's not the name of the bill, but people are calling it that, where pretty much is giving parents the rights to know what's going on in the child's education. So I'm just going to quickly just play a clip regarding this.
A controversial bill signed into law, but to Governor Ron DeSantis, it's about protecting parents' rights.
That parents have a right to be involved. We insist that parents have a right to be involved.
In about 3 months, instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity will be banned in kindergarten through the third grade classroom. And after the third grade, it requires a conversation to be age appropriate.
I don't.
Florida Republicans say this is the year.
Hold on.
Okay,
A
now
controversial bill signed into law, but to Governor Ron DeSantis, it's about protecting parents' rights.
That parents have a right to be involved. We insist that parents have a right to be involved.
In about 3 months, instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity will be banned in kindergarten through the third grade classrooms. And after the third grade, it requires a conversation to be age appropriate. Florida Republicans say this is the year of the parent.
Legislators like Governor DeSantis and Republicans across the state are saying no, the power is with the parents, and that's a fact.
However, Democrats like Florida Representative Tracy Davis from Jacksonville say the newly signed law erases the lives of LGBTQ Floridians.
I think educators need to keep doing what they're doing in the classroom and making sure that students feel loved, feel represented.
This local elementary school teacher, who wants to go by Ms. Harris, says she wasn't surprised the bill was signed into law, but she's worried this legislation will have a negative effect on her students' mental health and their self-worth. She's had students who identify as part of the LGBTQ community.
Parents, those are your babies. They're yours to raise and take care of. But on the flip side of that, they spend 40 plus hours a week at school.
Another concern she has is if the student has questions, but they're not ready to discuss it with parents.
Yes, I understand we don't want to cross those boundaries, but at the same time, we don't want conversations to be left unspoken.
In Jacksonville, Tristan Hardy, First Coast News, on your side.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that you couldn't hear it, Kel, but fellas, Schubert, Smith, you guys were able to hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to hear it.
Yeah. So so Ron DeSantis, he's basically have received a lot of praise for this bill, and obviously those who are on the LGBTQ side of things have basically called them all sorts of names underneath the rock or underneath the sun, basically saying that he is very anti-LGBTQ. So based on what you guys have said, do you feel like bills like this need to be more nationwide, where parents should have more of a right and say as to like the curriculums being taught in schools?
No.
Yes. Curriculums that are not, science-based or math, any curriculum that's not going to be tested in the school system, that has nothing to do with your passing and grading. Like if you pass this class, then you graduate. But we're just going to give you this information that has no relevance to your actual academic education. Parents should have some say in that shit.
I don't think parents should have a say in the curriculum. I think that the curriculum should not be geared towards no LGBT or gender equality. I don't think there's a place for that in schools. Like at the end of the day, that's not for schools. Same way they say God can't be in schools, that shit can't be in schools. That's not.
Lifestyle should not be in school.
You know what I mean? Like I say,
You know what?
because this is the problem with curriculum. So, it's kind of like everybody was a scientist with COVID-19, who never was fucking scientists. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody's a doctor now. We don't need all of these parents thinking that they're educators. Educators go to school. They go to college for a reason, to become educators. You understand? And if you ain't put that work in, then you don't have a leg in the game. Now I can understand if there was another board, a parental board, and you wanted to see what curriculums were being put out there. But that's the whole thing. Like, that's why we have the whole don't teach the 1619, don't teach the Amish style. Well, we should teach the Amish style. Well, no, teach about the Holocaust instead. It's too much. You know what I mean? Too many people got their hands in the pot. So that's why I think it shouldn't be, because, you know, let the, as we always want to say, let the experts do what the experts do. Let them do what they do. And every teacher's not.
I don't know if I agree with that. You know, to an extent, like, I get where you come from, where certain things are just factual. So you can't dispute history. You know, what happened, honestly, you can't dispute it. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of view. It's not a matter of like different sources. That is something that is factual. Most of the things that we teach in school are factual, whether they're science, they're English, they're history based. These are things that are factual that you will be tested on to see what your knowledge base is and how well you know it and understand it. But when it comes to something that's subjective, such as some things that's subjective, such as your sexual orientation, that is a person-to-person basis. That is not an overall basis. This is not something that we test for. This is not a bit of information that you need to have in order to pass or graduate or go on to college or any of the sort. This is your own personal lifestyle and experience, and it's irrelevant to a school education. So in that sense, I do think parents should have some say in things that are being brought to the curriculum that are not academic, academic things. If you want to say, listen, like for instance, when they decided, hey, we're going to switch up the way we teach math in my son's school, and they're like, we're going to use this Singapore math. It's like, all right, bet it's still math. You know, you're doing it a different route than what I know or what I'm used to. This new math, this, that, and the other. Fine, but it's still math. You're not changing what it is. But if you said, hey, we're going to start teaching your kids to wear a dress, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what the fuck that got to do with anything?
Yeah, and that's why, again, I'm going to say that there's no place in school for it, because if you have a teacher that has their own belief and their own personal issues with that, and they're pushing it in one classroom, like I told you all last week, where they had the gay parade in an elementary school because the teacher wanted to have this gay parade. No, there's no place for that shit in school. And again, the parents don't need to have their hands in the fucking curriculum. You know what I mean? If you're a hands-on parent and you're sitting down and you understand what's going on and you have a question, that's the thing. You can bring your questions. You can bring your questions to the table. I agree with you that you shouldn't have these Mickey Mouse things going on in the school, and a parent should know about that. But that's what I'm saying. There shouldn't be that Mickey Mouse shit in the schools. Like, you shouldn't have that in the schools. If I remember correctly, there was sex education when I was growing up in classes. There had to be a waiver that you had to get signed in order to take the class. So where the fuck did all that go? You know what I mean? Like, shit just changing overnight. Like you said, we're going from cookies and crayons to fucking teaching my kids about his pussy is not a penis and his penis is not a pussy. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? You know what I mean? That's the thing that I got. Like I said, you're talking about this going into second grade. My son is now going into the second grade, and you're going to be telling him that he might be feeling like he's a girl. Why would you be telling my son that shit? Why is it your place to feel like you have that you can educate my son on that shit? There's no place in the school for that. Yeah. That's how I feel as a father and an educator. You know what I mean? If there's a student who comes and they have a fucking question, I'm in high school. By all means, I'm going to take the time to give them my opinion or whatever I feel. You know what I mean? That's me as a teacher.
Here's the other thing.
But as a doing it as a whole class, as a lesson, as a curriculum, I don't.
That's too much.
I don't agree with that.
Now, here's my thing: is that the teacher that was in this whole discussion, right? And she was saying how, like, oh, well, you know, they're not going to have any resources or be able to ask questions. Who the fuck are they going to ask? If I'm gay, I'm gonna come up to my heterosexual female teacher and tell her that I'm gay, like as she has any understanding of that experience or what somebody's going through. At the end of the day, unless you're talking to another gay person, no one's going to understand that shit. You cannot put that shit in a book. You cannot make this shit into a class, a curriculum. So once again, how exactly is this, helping anybody?
It's not. That's So we definitely.
This is not helping anybody.
Like,
well, I just just to play contrarian.
At second grade and first grade,
devil's
Go ahead.
advocate.
Hit me with devil's advocate.
But before I hit you with the contrarian devil's advocate, I just want to get Kelvin's point. I know you couldn't necessarily hear the audio too well, and hopefully that on the replay the audio comes out well. But Kelvin, pretty much the Ron DeSantis bill to let parents know about curriculums, regardless of what the subject matter is. What's your stance on that? Like, how do you feel about parents needing to know more about curriculums?
I think
and preventing the LGBTQ,
Excuse me. I think that they should be able to at least know what's going on, but knowing and having to say is two different things. LeBron, stop. Knowing and having to say is two different things. So should they know? Yes. Should they have a say? No. I mean, I do agree. If you can't talk about religion, you shouldn't be able to talk about sexuality either.
Good.
I do think that there should be some type of outlet, though. Whether it be a therapist or even a guidance counselor. If they are having those types of feelings or questions about that, especially a lot of times they may not feel comfortable talking to their parents about it.
Mm-hmm.
They should have some type of outlet to be able to ask those questions and get those answers.
Yeah. And again, most of this, especially in Florida, that parental right bill, even though it talks about curriculum, a lot of it is laced on this particular issue regarding the gender identity, gender role stereotypes, where it prevents that sort of teaching from K to third grade. So that's like really the crux of this bill to prevent.
And there's a part with this, right? So the other part, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Henry, where they want the teachers to give them the whole school year lesson plans at the beginning of the school year, so parents can see what the students are learning. Now, if anybody knows anything about education, to plan for a whole school year in advance is stupidity.
Okay.
Because first of all, you don't know your kids. You understand? You don't know your student population. You don't know IEPs and all this. So how are you planning for something that you don't even know what you're getting? That's why I say it's stupid. But that's what uneducated people. No, that's smart to do it, plan in advance. And it's like, no, we already plan in advance. But to plan a year in advance, you can have a skeleton, but to know how many students you're going to have with IEPs, with deficiencies, with being ESL or non-verbal, you can't plan for that shit until you're in it. You understand? So That's all. I just wanted to say that.
All right. Well, the only advocate's point, and I know it's going to get eviscerated, is preventing the suicides of these minors when they're not accepted or this sort of confusion around their gender identity. Now, is it a strong defense? Look, I don't think so, but that's the devil's advocate point that I could only present as to why people are advocating for this to be taught, is to prevent the physical harm that they inflict upon themselves or other people inflict upon these people who identify as such.
All right. I'm just going to say, though, we talking about first and second graders. What the fuck? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Where is that coming from?
I can't remember the last time I heard a first grade, second grader killing themselves over some identity issues.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so we're going to now
before they try to
make them want to kill themselves. Come on, bro.
How about they figure a way to keep kids from going off the deep end and shooting up the goddamn school?
Yeah, like what
how about that? Work on that issue first.
Work
on the kids that struggle and fall through the cracks because they have ADHD, because they have drug issues, because they have depression, because of this, that, and the other. Work on these other issues before you worried about who's fucking who.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to, is Who is fucking who?
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, New Jersey. One of the many reasons, even though I don't have kids, but it's still one of the many reasons why this state is, in the words of Donald Trump, a shithole. Next news story. Uh, this is another New Jersey story. So Rutgers, this is from NJ.com. Rutgers created fake jobs for graduates to boost MBA programs ranking, lawsuit charges. On its website, it proclaims its number one ranking this year by Bloomberg Business Week as the top business school in the Northeast. Fortune bestowed a similar honor in 2021, and the U.S. News World Report rated its MBA program among the top 10 best overall employment outcomes in the U.S. as well as number 12 for its supply chain management MBA program. But in a whistleblower lawsuit filed Friday, a Rutgers administrator charged the university fraudulently burnished those national rankings by creating totally bogus jobs to show the success its business school graduates had in finding employment. The lawsuit by Deirdre White, the business school human resource manager, alleged the program used a temp agency to hire unemployed MBA students, placing them into sham positions at the university itself for no other reason than to make it appear like a greater number of graduates were getting full-time jobs after getting their Rutgers diplomas. By going through an outside temp agency, White lawsuit claimed the university was able to circumvent restrictions in the ranking system that do not allow universities to count internal hires for purpose of their employment statistics. And there's other points in regards to the backlash that this whistleblower is getting, and it points out how in this article there's other universities that also pull this sort of sham of reporting of job employment with their graduate programs as well. So, fellas, what do we think about our very own Rutgers universities quite possibly lying about employment status after graduating their MBA programs, and maybe a much larger discussion regarding MBA programs altogether?
I don't know.
I'm not surprised.
Layers to that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that this is happening though.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, after that scam with them parents paying for test scores, and I don't know, man. It all comes down to money and finances. So they want their enrollment to be bolstered. So they're doing shady stuff to do it. It's just, I don't know, man. I always feel like anytime y'all doing some wrong shit, just need to quit while you're ahead, because you're eventually gonna get caught. Like, nobody gets away with that shit forever, Like, what was they just gonna do that until the end of time? They just think they were never gonna get caught, and nobody was ever going to say anything.
Yes, actually they did, Henry. They've been doing it for God knows how long, and they hadn't gotten caught, and they felt like they wouldn't. It's like a dude who cheats on his wife and shit. He keeps doing it until he gets fucking caught.
I mean, not for nothing. We're doing it in the public school systems.
Yeah, it's the like, at the end of the day, it's the whole reason why kids are now being turned off from college and shit, because of how much it costs, and then coming out and not being able to find a job or a career, and they just spent X amount of dollars for a degree, and this is the bullshit that's making them say, why go to college? Like, at the end of the day, everything is a scam, sham, or fucking got your ass. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
like this, that's what it boils down to. This is
absolutely. You can say the same thing about pretty much anything.
I would like to know how many people would actually affect it. You know what I mean? $400,000. They were using that, or more than 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my whole thing is I would like to know different layers of this. Like, one,
the layers.
On one side, like, we look at the layer of, like, okay, these schools gotta keep their money flowing, so they gotta make the numbers look good on themselves and everything, because at the end of the day, it's that they give you a piece of paper and a hope that you might get a job. There's no guarantee, so they try to sell that hope, as hard as they can. So I can't be mad at that, because that's without them selling a piece of paper and a hope, they don't have a business model.
Yeah.
And secondly,
the rapper who buys their own CD and then gives it out at their concerts. It's like that. It's like that's what this is. And shit. It's like, what?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
like
We got to make it look like ourselves are a certain thing, but we're actually buying. And you know, you go and get an outside temp agency. Like, you know, the layers of shit is just like, you know, really.
Now the other layer I would like to know about, like, about it is I hate to play the race card, but like, who's the whistleblower? Is it a black person who's mad?
Sound like it was.
Because some white NBAs are getting over, they're getting these sham jobs and getting paid and then take care of.
Yeah.
Or is it the other way around? Is it, a white whistleblower who's mad at all these Negroes who are unhireable? So like the school is looking out for these Negroes and giving them a leg up. I mean, I would like to know about that too. Or is it like, is it a dude who's mad because they only hire females and this, that, yeah. So I would like to know what the motivation of the whistleblower is as well, and the demographics of these NBAs, that are getting hired by the same school that they went to, So I think there's a couple layers to this shit. But it doesn't surprise me at all that, the college is just trying to show the sham that they are,
Yeah. Nah, yeah, you guys hit it right on the nose. It's just another unfortunate point where you got a bunch of impressionable kids being given this sort of sales pitch about MBA programs and other probably graduate programs or even undergraduate programs and how they are going to garner all of the success. And behind the scenes, these institutions know that, hey, yeah, the pickings are slim out there. You guys are really might not even get that much success, but we're just gonna hide those actual numbers and pull these antics to show that, like, hey, just rack up this amount of debt, you'll be great. It'll pay itself off down the road.
But then that's where the bullshit comes in because I'm thinking that Rutgers MBA program is better because I look at their employment rate after college. And I went to Rutgers instead of going to this other school where it's actually better. Their numbers, they didn't deceive me. Yes, I want to sue.
Exactly.
I want to sue for all my tuition back.
Here's the reality. Here's the reality, is that, let's be for real. If you're going to Rutgers and doing the Rutgers MBA, no disrespect to people that went to Rutgers, but the whole thing is that, you probably wasn't going to get into Harvard or Cornell or any other school that the name by itself would have got you the job.
Well, but
I'm pretty sure Yale don't have that issue. Harvard ain't got that issue. Cornell, like, dude, I'm pretty sure Columbia, most of those places don't have to fudge the numbers like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
sure.
There's some slight pushback because Kelvin made a great point. Because Kelvin, in the I think they call it the varsity blues scandal. A lot of those schools were Ivy League schools. That was pointed out. So
they were pointed out for rich people buying their way for their kids to get into the best schools. But
to put the point is like you got a lot of unqualified kids at these institutions,
with these fake created jobs. Again, listen, your son wants to go to school, right? He wants to go to college, and Rutgers has this program, right? And he wants to stay in state because that benefits him, pockets, everything. So he decides he's going to go to this program because they got the better program than Rowan. Then fucking NJIT, they got the better program because more people get jobs after they graduate. You just gave me the education. No, but you
bust y'all both though. But if Hakeem's kid is smart enough to get into my Ivy League school, but he ain't got the cash, and Bradley's kid is a C student, but they paying. They not only paying the full tuition, they also paying for my weekend getaways to Aruba. This is still a business, homeboy, and cash is king. So why does that surprise you?
It's
No,
not
I'm
a,
not saying it's surprise. I'm saying that I have been given a faulty education.
That's the part that I think that Smith is saying. It's just like
the faulty education I agree with. I'm just talking
that's
about
what I'm saying. Like I could have
made their way in,
but I could have went somewhere and excelled. I came to your school.
You could have. You're right. But
that's what I'm saying.
No,
and it don't have to be king. And it don't have to be an Ivy League school that you went to besides Rutgers. So whether Harvard's having these issues or not, nigga, I could have went to Kane, who got a legitimate fucking business school.
Exactly.
I went to St. Peter's.
That's
I think that's
the point I think they're saying, Shu, is just the whole, because again, the first bullet point here is like, yo, they were given the #1 ranking by Bloomberg Business Week as the top business school in the Northeast. You know what other schools is in the Northeast? Princeton and Cornell. That's true.
That's true. So if you're saying that this is the number one,
you're right.
I'm going here because it's the number one.
You're right.
It's the one. When I get my diploma, I'm guaranteed to get a job.
I concede to the argument. I was just saying that the argument was completely separate from the parents that paid for their kids to get into Ivy League schools.
Oh yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
That's different.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, that's different.
That's all I'm saying. It's a different argument.
But it's a shame, and I hope I remember several years ago there was a bunch of people who wanted to present a bill to prevent law schools from doing the exact same thing, where they were lying about their sort of graduation success, and because they did a deeper dive and they realized, similar to what this scandal is, they realized that they were counting any employment as a graduate success, not necessarily for the designated field that they were going to graduate school for. So like if you were working at Subway as a law graduate, they just checked it off as an employment success. So
but what does graduate as a law success? So let's say you went to Rutgers Law School and you graduated and you got a job in a law office, but you weren't an actual attorney, you were a paralegal. Does that still count? If you were someone who just did the research and no, that is what a paralegal does. But if you filed paperwork, does that count because you worked in a law? So like, at what level does it really count as graduate success? Because
should count anything that's similar to the field.
Say that again, Cal.
If it's similar to the field, nigga, if I'm a paralegal, that shit should count. If I'm working in Subway, nigga, I ain't got nothing to do with that shit.
Okay, but the whole thing is, but that's the problem with some of these things, is the fact of, somebody could make an argument of how it is relevant. Yeah. I mean, and that's how they run this shit. Is the fact of all they got to do is make a slight argument that, well, if you turn your head sideways and squint your eyes and jump up on one foot, Lizzo looks like Beyonce. Yeah, I can see it. You know what I mean? That's how they do it. That's how they do it.
Well, I didn't know they were doing it like that, to be honest, man. And I didn't think, every school was operating like this, bro. And
yes.
Well, look, you need whistleblowers, because that's the beauty of whistleblowers, because people don't know. Like, if I'm a parent today, I'm thinking that Rutgers, for the most part, is operating on an honor system with their numbers. Like, I don't know. Like, I could genuinely say I didn't know this. So to this magnitude, that you're hiring outside agencies to play with these numbers to this degree, I don't think this is as common as you might think it is, bro. Common knowledge as you might think most people might know.
Just to be clear, the outside agencies are being held accountable as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. And like it's in the last point, it says the scheme was organized, deliberate, and unequivocal. Like, this shit, granted, I think it's going to, you might start seeing more and more of these, which, I'll share this article with you guys after this, after today, so that you guys can read it in its entirety. But yeah, it's, you're gonna, I guess this is gonna cause people to really assess graduate school, period, or just further education. All right, last story. This was a last-minute request, so sorry if I don't have any bullet points, because Black Zeus sent this to me as I was walking my dog, and I was like, what the hell? All right, cool.
I thought it was interesting.
He said it was interesting. So we're gonna be doing this. Usually, I like to prep. So he's messing with the production of.
You could say no. You could say no. You could have said no. I did put it in question for him.
But anyway, this is from the New York Post. T.I. stormed stage after Comic Notes assault allegation. Take off your wig. T.I. has confronted a comedian at an open mic night in Atlanta after she brought up sexual assault allegations levied against him during her live stand-up set. The 41-year-old rapper was in the audience at Our Bar ATL on Monday night when funny woman Lauren Knight referenced claims that T.I. and his wife Tamika Tiny Harris drugged and sexually assaulted a woman in 2005. According to Knight, T.I., whose real name is Clifford Harris, was heckling her during her comedy routine, repeatedly yelling out from the crowd and telling her to take her wig off. The taunt prompted Knight to bring up the 2005 allegations. Let me see if I could play this audio clip. Goddamn commercials. Clifford Harris. Yeah, and I didn't think he was that freaking young, shockingly.
You didn't think he was that young. Somehow I was thinking to myself, like, 41 years old rapper. It just sounds like,
I thought
to me, that sounded like wrong. Like,
nah,
I thought he was as a rapper.
I thought he was older than that. That's how long he's been around. I thought he was older than that. You thought so? You thought so too, right?
No, I didn't think he was.
Yeah, I thought he was closer to 50.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Even if that's the case, but when they say 41-year-old rapper, it just sounds like you're an old ass man still trying to do what the young kids do.
God damn, they got you commercial city over here. What the
hell? I'm here we go. Finally, she.
Shut the up for a second. Hey, listen. No. As many times as you joke on that I'm gonna check your motherfucking ass as long as it takes. When you stop talking about it, when you stop playing with me and mine, I'm gonna stop saying something.
All right, so we see the T.I., Mr. Clifford Harris, basically interrupted Mr. Clifford Harris basically interrupted Miss Knight bit, and it didn't go too well. So fellas, what do we think of this sort of controversy? Like, you talking about maybe a week right after Will Smith?
Because that's what we said, that Will was setting the precedent for that bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what was wrong.
I told you.
T.I. is fucking wrong, and motherfuckers think they're going to do this, and you want to run up on the wrong motherfucker, and it's going to be bad. That's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
But here's the difference.
That's what happened with that Tupac Biggie shit. Like, motherfuckers keep poking shit. Like, leave well enough alone. You know what I mean? You're going to a comedy show to hear comedy. Now, first of all, the girl, from my understanding with this article, she didn't start talking about him. He was heckling her the whole time.
Yeah.
And then she started saying, well, what about your 2005 this? And now you want to get mad. Like, what? Come on, man. That shit, like, yo, niggas is bitches, bruh. That's a bitch move, bruh. That man
I'm just saying, the fact of, the funny thing is, last week I called and I said, okay, what if that was a female on stage? Would Will Smith act like that? Would y'all still be saying, oh yeah, defend black women? But now it's a female on stage. You know, nobody's expect, T.I. to run up and smack the shit out of her for saying his wife is a rapist.
Well, both of them allegedly. Let's put the alleged part out there. We not trying to have any sort of legal issues on our end. Yeah. Hey, defamation lawsuits are real.
Yeah, he ain't, well, from the video, he didn't get on the stage, but he got a microphone from somewhere in this video. And he didn't do a violent act. He did a verbal attack. It's a difference. It is a difference.
Yeah.
You know?
It is different, but the whole thing is, if that was a dude, you think it would have been the same thing? You don't think he might have ran up on stage? You don't think people would be okay with him running up on stage?
If that was a dude, he probably wouldn't have even said anything, bruh. That's what I'm saying. Niggas is bitches, bruh.
That would have been a real bitch move.
Like, if that was a dude, he probably wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
That was a dude saying the same thing, same jokes. He might not even said anything.
Yeah.
Why are you running up on a female? Like, why? I don't understand. I don't get it.
And my understanding is that
idle act makes you look like the bigger man by running up on a female and trying to argue with her. Like what? I don't get it. I don't get that part. I'm not arguing with no chick. You won't get me to show that feminine side of myself. Because everybody got that feminine side in them. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with no chick. Like you fucking arguing for some bullshit. Take your wig off, really? And right there looked like he on stage though.
Yeah, he certainly looked like he got on stage.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like to me when I saw it.
In this, he's on stage. Yeah, that one he's down, but that one it looked like he's up there with her.
Yeah, he certainly looked like he got on stage. Kelvin, you got anything on this?
That whole we gonna start getting on stage with comedians for telling jokes. Yeah, that shit whack as hell.
That's just another example of people exerting their power. Because if this was a regular nigga or female, he wouldn't even get. How did T.I. even get a microphone?
Well, so quick background. T.I. is not pursuing a comedic career, if you guys don't know. So he was already at this.
I forgot.
Yeah, he's at this comedy club. He did a bit already at this comedy club, so he's just there, listening to other comedians and stuff. Yeah, and pretty much he felt like he could heckle this chick, and this chick, took a swipe at him, and he didn't like it.
So was he heckling her because she said something about him in the past, or just because she was doing it?
He was just wanting to be, most comedians, they get that one or two individual who feel like they could show them up on a stand-up bit, and T.I. felt like he wanted to heckle her, and she was like,
anybody that's been to a show and seen somebody heckle a comedian knows the fact that comedian will destroy you
for the most part.
I've been to many a comedy shows where somebody tried to talk shit about the comedian, and then after that comedian just ran them down.
It depends on how. It depends on how seasoned that comedian is.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like if they're not seasoned enough, like you could get some good hecklers. I remember watching a documentary on comedians, and it was who was the comedian who was talking about it? But either way, they were just like, they got him pretty good. Like they had this one heckler who got him really good. He was just like, I ain't had much to say, But it could be a comedian heckler, and I was thinking that he could rattle this chick, and this chick was like, yo, let's bring up your 2005 allegations.
But my understanding in comedian world, that's a no. Like comedians don't heckle comedians. Like that's
exactly. But guess
I
what?
Understand that part.
Hey, Black Zeus. I was going to say that, but guess what? He's not a comedian. He's a rapper.
Oh, shots fired.
And that's why I said people got to stay in their lane. That's why when I was talking about that curriculum shit, people got to stay in their lane. Like you're a rapper.
T.I. is trying to pursue a comedian.
Okay, but he's a rapper though.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand what he's trying to do now. I get it.
That's why she ain't say nothing about. That's why she ain't crack jokes about his
raps.
His comedy.
Yeah, that's why she didn't talk about his comedy.
That's why she spoke about his rap life.
Yeah, like he's a rapper, dude. Like,
yeah,
because comedians don't heckle other comedians; they support them. Unless you steal somebody's joke, then they check you after the stage. You know what I mean? Like you steal them a joke, steal them a joke. Like so they do that.
Because I remember seeing like a comedian like, oh my god, rip into this dude because this dude was heckling and this, that, and the other. And the heckler said to the comedian like, oh yeah, you ain't got no comeback. And the comedian was like, well, if you want my comeback, go scrape it off your mama's teeth. I was like, oh. The whole entire audience was wilding out after that one.
Well, look, I pulled up an article now. This is from page 6. T.I. continues comedy career with a pretty good set for shocked fans. I'm just going to scroll down, and it says, the witness told page 6 that T.I. did a surprise set, and he was actually pretty good. The set was a security force to prevent people from recording. So, like, people are saying that T.I. is an actor, too, and in the bits roles he's had, he's often came across as funny. So he's multi-talented. I'm just surprised that he got that offended. it is what it is.
Well, it was kind of like,
if anything, he started it though.
That's what I'm about to say. So I could dish it.
At the end of the day, he started it. He wasn't
That's what I'm. Regardless, yeah.
Minding his own business.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, regardless, when you're a comedian, like I remember watching another documentary with Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neal, and how these comedians behind the scenes, off stage, they would just crack jokes on each other. So some of the malicious shit that they would say to each other just to sharpen their skills. Like, it was some of the funniest. It was the funniest shit I've ever watched. The way they would be like in this alley just cracking jokes on each other.
You know what though? That further proves that T.I. ain't a real comedian, because she might have just been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, nigga, if you can't dish it out, and nigga, this is how we talk to each other. So
yeah.
Everything's,
yeah.
Everything's off limits. Yeah. And it ain't like, I highly doubt that, her making that comment would have had, people in the audience feeling like, oh man, T.I. did X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't think that would have made that big of a deal. The comments that she made. He made it worse.
At the end of the day,
he did. He certainly did.
He started it at the end of the day, telling her, take off your wig. He started that shit. So it's like, anything that came at him, fuck him. You can't be in your feelings now. You try to humiliate her in public in front of everybody. Let's say she was wearing a wig. You know what I mean? Like,
she clearly was wearing a wig with that bright orange.
Okay, I'm just saying.
It could have been dyed that color.
Nah, but that shit was some bright orange. That shit was some bright orange shit.
And then you look at her other pictures. You look at all the pictures on the page. She got black hair in the next one. So yeah, that was a wig. Huh?